Welcome to Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180 for the best in Saturday Talk Radio at 1 o'clock and on 1230 KGEO at 10 o'clock Saturday. And for the best in Wednesday Talk Radio on 1410 KERI on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And now we are in Albuquerque, New Mexico on 1000 KKIM. Your host is Clay Koerner, and I'm Marty Pay, and behind the big board is our producer, Greg Held. Hey, Clay, that was a great show with senatorial candidate Andy Vidic.
You know, I really like Andy, but I have to apologize to Letitia because I jumped on it a little hard when I shouldn't have.
Well, you know, the funny thing is we're taping this a couple weeks ahead of time because I'm going to be on vacation next week.
Right.
So by the time this airs on the 27th, the election will be over.
Well, I still have to apologize to Letitia, and congratulations on losing the election.
To whoever loses the election, right? Then in the second half, we had Tom Del Beccaro, former head of the California Republican Party, and he had a lot to say.
Unbelievable what he had to say.
Yeah, that was a good interview.
I mean, he really knows his business.
Yes, he does.
And if Republicans would do some of the things he said, they might be able to take over the Senate.
That would be nice. We're going to have a fun show today. We're going to stay away from news and politics for once. How about that?
That'd be nice, really.
Yeah, so we're just going to have a little fun today.
I retract those comments earlier.
It's too late. It's already on the air. Our guest in the second half, Michael Prince from Gaslight Melodrama. But by phone, we've got an old friend of mine, Lucille Ball's favorite fan, author of I Had a Ball.
Okay, I have a young man here.
Hello, Mike.
Hi. My question is...
Mike is my number one fan. He looks pretty young
How do you
for that.
qualify to be the number one fan?
Yes, he just is, that's
it's
all.
a lot of collecting. Okay, my question is, do you bring Lucy home when you were working on Lucy, but did you bring it home to your husband every day? Or?
I'd like to answer that.
Should you let him answer it?
That's a great clip. Mike, tell us the story behind that clip.
Well, we were at a TV taping called America Alive, and it was done at UCLA. It was shot one day only. They went out of the studio and they went to UCLA, and it was just Q&A. That's all Lucy was doing, was people were asking questions, and she would answer them as honest as she could. And it was like learning from a teacher. And people would ask questions, and there I was asking my little question. But before I got to my question, she would say, and this is Michael. He's my number one fan.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really nice. And it was live.
Wow. Well, you know, we've had you on before, and you and I, Michael, have known each other. Let's see, I was trying to think of when I first met you, but I remember your dad and I worked together in the 70s.
I think he worked with your granddad, actually.
No, close.
Yes, because I'm not that old.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the pictures.
He used to babysit me, I'm sure.
Pretty close. But I remember sometime in the 70s being at your dad's 50th birthday party at your house, and I walked into your room, and it's funny because there's a picture of the room, excuse me, in the book. And you were, at the time, going to Grant High School, which is my old alma mater.
Right.
And I was talking to you about, I think at the time you were the president of the Lucille Ball fan club?
I was on the board of directors, as they say, but I was never the president. But I should have been.
Yeah.
And I would have done a good job. But the person who was the president, Tom Watson, he did a heck of a job.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this was the mid-'70s, so you've been a Lucy fan forever.
Since 1968.
Wow.
And literally,
wow.
I was a little kid. I was 7 years old at the time, 8 years old, and I fell in love with Lucy by watching a movie called Yours, Mine, and Ours with Henry Fonda.
I remember that, yeah.
Lucy Van Johnson. Henry Fonda had 10 kids. Lucy had 8 kids. And it was almost like the Brady Bunch. They got married and had 18 kids together.
And then she got pregnant, right?
And she did, yeah. She was 60 years old and had a baby. Yeah. I don't know how that was possible, but
yes.
she did. And but it was a great story. It was one of my favorite Lucy movies of all time. But I fell in love with her on that stage.
Now, when did you actually meet Lucy?
Well, I actually got to go see a filming of Here's Lucy, which was her third major series for CBS. In 1971 was the first time I actually got to see her live and in person. But it was just about 2 weeks ago, my 40th anniversary, that I got to meet her face-to-face. She looked at my scrapbook of photos. She gave me a kiss. She gave me an autograph backstage on a street called Lucy Lane. They built it just for her backstage, so it didn't look like any other backstage. You know, it was beautiful. At Here's Lucy at Universal Studios, July 12th. So, and that's when I first got to meet her.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Now-
she was like 12 feet tall. I mean, I remember she was like on a staircase, like maybe 3 steps up. But here I was, 12 years old, just looking straight up in the air, and there she was.
Yeah, like a goddess. I could see
Yeah,
that.
honestly, she was. The way she was made up, and that's exactly the way she looked.
So how's the book doing? It's been what? Has it been 2 years since we?
It's been almost 2 years.
Wow.
It's almost at the 10,000 mark, which is phenomenal for a book sale. I sold more books than Rob Lowe. How's that?
Wow.
So I'm really proud of that. But it's just been really, really nice. I've been receiving so many letters of people who read my book, who love my book, and the most common thread is people who say, yeah, that's the Lucy we thought she was, or I wish I was in your shoes because that's the Lucy who we thought she was, and it's true. So it's just a beautiful book. It's the only book that's authorized by the Lucille Ball estate, Lucy Arnaz and Desi Arnaz Jr.
That makes a big difference, too.
Yep.
We're having a conversation with an old friend of mine, Michael Stern, who wrote a great book called I Had a Ball, My Friendship with Lucille Ball.
Well, Michael, I'm looking at the back cover of your book right now, and it looks like both Desi Arnaz Jr. and Lucy Arnaz endorsed your book, which is pretty exciting.
It really is, and they wrote nice things, and I still talk to Lucy every single day. Last week was her birthday, so we had a nice little birthday chat. She was at my house for the first time ever about 2 months ago, and so she finally got to see my Lucy room, because I still have a Lucy room dedicated to the Queen of Comedy, and she really liked it. A lot of the things were given to me by Lucille Ball herself, like one of her Emmy Awards and her cast when she broke her leg. Lucy was skiing. She broke her leg. She had a cast. She gave it to me, and she now said, now you have the cast of I Love Lucy.
Oh, cute. I like that.
Yeah, she had a good sense of humor.
So is Desi Arnaz considered Little Ricky?
Every day in life, people will say, it's Little Ricky, but he was never Little Ricky. He did not perform on his mother's show as a regular until Here's Lucy, 20 years later or 16 years later. But it was another gentleman named Keith Thibodeau who played Little Ricky.
And where's Keith now?
Keith is performing throughout the country. Well, his wife is a ballerina, and they have a ballerina school, and they just go around to, like, churches, and they perform. So he's like a road manager.
So do you have plans to write a sequel to this book?
I have an idea to add a little bit to it, maybe add some photos that I have not added yet, but there's going to be a chapter or two coming up maybe in about 2-3 years.
Well, we need more photos for me.
Oh, you got it. You got it. I have about 60 photos in there already, so it's definitely packed with photos.
Lots of photos of you.
Of course. And Lucy.
And Lucy. Yeah.
Pictures of Lucy from I Love Lucy and Here's Lucy and Lucy conventions that we had for 6 years in Burbank, California. There's a big festival every year in Jamestown, New York, Lucy's hometown, and I've been there a few times as an MC host for Lucy.
Do you actually work, or is this your full-time job?
I work full-time on the Dr. Phil Show, the
Oh.
#1 daytime talk show in America.
And what do you do there?
I'm the audience producer. I make sure that there's a full audience every day, that they're very happy, and I have a great staff, and they're actually listening on the radio right now, and they may even call in. You never know.
Well, let's hope they don't call in because we're recording this.
Oh, well, they'll be on hold for a long time.
Yeah, Michael, it's funny. The last time we had you on, we were on one station, and we took live calls. But we're on 4 stations now, so we recorded because of the different times. Including New Mexico. So,
hello, New Mexico.
I got to tell you something funny. Since you and I are both originally from Canada, I got a text from a listener, about a month ago, who was actually listening to the show in British Columbia on YouTube, on the internet in New Mexico. I thought, sheesh, all for a California show.
Well, not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
And I guess I had my Canadian accent at the time.
The out and about?
Eh?
Well, you know,
when this airs on the 27th, I will be in Canada. I'll be in British Columbia.
you talk about
beautiful over there.
Yeah.
talk about Albuquerque. I have a buddy of mine I went to elementary school with. He and I have been friends for years. He's driving through Albuquerque where he just bought a house. He says, I heard this voice on the radio. It sounded just like you, Clay. And he said, and unfortunately it was.
It was. No, that's nice that you're almost throughout the whole country now, you know.
Well, it's funny. We actually have listeners in Iraq and on the East Coast that listen on YouTube. So
It's amazing.
yeah, it really is in this electronic world we live in. When we come back from the break, I want to talk to you about that YouTube clip of Bob Hope and Lucille Ball. So we'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.